What's up, nerds? Do you guys think we have, like, too many of the same playables in the aisle? Because I do. And not to mention that a lot of those are either pretty much identical to each other or completely useless, and I doubt anybody is going to play them. Like, we already have that problem now. Like, nobody plays Dryo, nobody plays Hipsy, very little people play Bipey, although I do have a lot of fun with Bipiosaurus when it came out. Bipey's just in a very unfortunate state on the current map. We just have too many similar playables, which is fine, the more the merrier, but why the fuck are only 2 of them flyers? You're telling me we can fit every single possible niche on this terrestrial roster? We have the slim pickin' scavenger bird, Pteranodon, and then we have the shit your pants mega scary bird, Quetzalcoatlus, which is pretty awesome. We got 2 iconic flying reptiles in the game. But why the hell is there such a big gap in between them? You're telling me we can have Carnotaurus and Rugops, which is just a smaller Carnotaurus, but we can't have one more bird? I really don't want to have to wait 10 years until mod support comes into the game to get another flyer, but it seems like it's going to be that way anyway. Or another 15 years on top of that where they decide to add a DLC where it's like a aquatic pack or like a flying ecosystem pack where it's just flyers and shit, because I don't think I'm ever gonna see that in my lifetime. I would be very happy if we just got one more flyer to the roster. And they don't even have to be flying reptiles. A few things on the main roster aren't dinosaurs, so I don't see a problem adding things to the flying creatures that don't fall into the flying reptile category. Things like Pelagornis, Argentavis, the Hast Eagle. And although Argentavis and Hast aren't as big as people think they are, I'm sure they could upscale it a little bit to try to differentiate it from Pteranodon from being like a scavenger. Even though Argentavis is quite literally just like a prehistoric monstrous vulture built for scavenging. Speaking of monsters built for scavenging, why is this number so low? You guys are just picking at all my videos without the subscribe button clicked. 6.4% of you? Come on, you can do better. But I do appreciate you watching my videos nonetheless. But guilting you guys aside, let's talk about Pelagornis. Pelagornis, personally, would be fucking awesome. He's basically just a giant glorified pelican, or duck, whatever you prefer. And Pelagornis being an extreme waterfowl, floating along the water like a giant duck or pelican, quickly diving into the water to catch a fish or something, I think that would be very interesting. I know very well they can implement this already because we see that all being done by Bipey right now. He floats along the water like a duck, he dives into the water, he has high buoyancy, so he just floats right to the top if he doesn't grab to the bottom. Pretty much all they would have to change is make it be able to fly, and maybe it can't latch to the bottom of the water because it doesn't have hands. And boom, Pelagornis. I think Pelagornis would be extremely interesting. I think diving would be quite fun. And since Pelagornis is very large for a prehistoric bird, it may be able to hold its ground somewhat to similar sized predators, so it won't be useless whatsoever. Definitely not as agile and nimble as the Pteranodon, but that's what separates it from Pteranodon. I think it would make for an amazing mid-tier flyer. As long as they give it enough drawbacks such as low agility, probably a bit slower at flying than Pteranodon as well, but with a larger stamina pool. I think if they made it different enough than Pteranodon, not all the Pteranodon users will flock over to Pelagornis, because I'm sure Pelagornis would overshadow Pteranodon quite a bit, both being piscivores, but it would still be cool either way. But moving on from Pelagornis, unfortunately, I won't be talking about Hast too much. I'm just gonna be comparing it to Argentavis, because honestly, between Argentavis and Hast Eagle, I would have to go for Argentavis, for the pure fact that they're just quite similar, being both predator and scavenger, and Argentavis is significantly larger. So yeah, Argentavis mainly being an opportunistic scavenger. Argentavis strikes a large resemblance to modern day New World vultures. Kinda like how Pelagornis is just a huge fucking albatross. Argentavis is just a giant fucking vulture, maybe picking on some smaller prey items. Oh, and I completely forgot about this, but you may actually recognize Argentavis and Pelagornis both from Ark Survival Evolved and Survival Ascended, respectively. Although they are quite a bit oversized in that game, but I do think their behavior in Ark pretty much lines up roughly to how they would be in real life. Pelagornis just being a beach-dwelling waterfowl, and then Argentavis being a hungry asshole, it pretty much lines up. But talking more about Argentavis, and how it would fit into the Isle, I could easily see it being a tad more agile than Pelagornis, considering it is a predatory bird. And other than just being a tad more agile, a bit faster than Pelagornis, I do think it could bring some pretty cool mechanics to the table. So vultures in real life have very strong talons and strong neck muscles, so they can rip shit apart. So I think a cool mechanic to add to the Isle for Argentavis would be some sort of diving claw embrace where it just kind of dives down to its target, talons open, ready to pin it down, and depending on how fast it's diving down, the more damage it can do to whatever it's hitting. And if it actually hits its target, then it can possibly pin it down and then be able to eat it alive. They've already mentioned being eat alive will be something they are adding. It was shown in a few concept arts. I think it was shown in Dilophosaurus' concept art, but I think this would work perfectly for Argentavis. And we already kind of see the distance relative to damage sort of deal with Herrerasaurus. The higher you pounce, the more damage it does. So we can see that sort of correlate to how Argentavis would work. And then if it actually hits what it's going for, then it's going to do a whole lot of damage. And possibly killing it on impact if it's small enough. So yeah, what do you guys think? Any flying birds, reptiles that you think they should add? Or do you think Pteranodon and Quetz are plenty? Both are reasonable opinions. I like to hear what everybody says. Throw it down below, and I'll see you. Peace.